When someone is properly grounded in life, they shouldn't have to look outside themselves for approval. Marcus Aurelius. Family is meant to be our greatest source of support, yet it often becomes our greatest source of stress. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation with a family member that spiraled into frustration? A simple discussion turned into an argument. A well-intentioned comment was misinterpreted, and suddenly, instead of connection, there was distance. Communication within a family can be complicated. We all have different personalities, perspectives, and emotions. Sometimes we react before thinking. Sometimes we hold on to grudges. And other times we feel unheard, misunderstood, or even emotionally drained. But what if there was a way to approach family communication with clarity, patience, and wisdom? This is where Stoicism for family relationships offers life-changing insights. The Stoics teach us that peace in our interactions doesn't come from controlling others, but from mastering our own responses. When we practice emotional control, focus on understanding, and embrace acceptance, we reduce unnecessary conflict and build stronger, more harmonious relationships. In this video, you'll learn 6 practical Stoic strategies to improve communication with your family. Control your reactions before they control you. Focus on understanding, not winning. Accept that you cannot control others, only yourself. Reframe negative thoughts about family members. Set boundaries without guilt. Practice Amor Fati. Love your family as they are. Each of these lessons will help you improve family communication, develop emotional resilience, and bring more peace into your home. Make sure to stay until the end, because the final Stoic principle is the key to transforming how you approach family relationships. And if you find this video valuable, like, subscribe, and share, so that more people can discover the wisdom of Stoicism for family relationships and create deeper connections in their own lives. Now let's begin. Number 1. Control your reactions before they control you. Family relationships can be both beautiful and challenging. No one knows how to push your buttons quite like family, because they know you better than anyone. A single remark, an old disagreement, or even a well-intentioned piece of advice can trigger irritation or defensiveness. Before you know it, emotions take over. Words are spoken in frustration. Tension builds. What started as a simple conversation turns into an argument that leaves both sides feeling hurt and misunderstood. But what if you could stop this cycle before it even begins? What if, instead of reacting emotionally, you could learn to respond with wisdom? This is one of the most powerful lessons from Stoicism for family relationships. Learning to control your reactions before they control you. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you shouldn't give circumstances the power to rouse anger, for they don't care at all. In other words, no external event, no comment, and no action from another person has the power to force you to react in anger. The only thing that determines your reaction is you. Why emotional control is key in family communication. Most family conflicts are not caused by what was said, but by how we react to what was said. A parent makes a comment about your career choices. A sibling brings up an embarrassing story from the past. A relative questions your life decisions. None of these things are inherently harmful. What makes them painful is our interpretation and reaction. We assign meaning to them. They don't respect me. They never take me seriously. Why can't they just accept me? And suddenly, emotions take over. This is where Stoicism for family relationships offers a better path. Instead of letting your emotions dictate your actions, you can train yourself to pause and choose a better response. Seneca offers us timeless advice. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. This means that whenever you feel triggered by a family member's words or actions, the first thing to do is nothing. How to apply this in real conversations. The next time you feel frustration or anger rising in a conversation, try this Stoic approach. 1. Pause. Before responding, take a breath. Count to 5 if needed. This simple act creates space between emotion and reaction. 2. Observe. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Name the emotion: anger, frustration, hurt. But remind yourself that you don't have to act on it. 3. Reframe. Instead of assuming the worst, ask, is this really worth getting upset over? Could I be misinterpreting their words? Is my reaction going to improve or worsen this situation? 4. Respond with wisdom. Once you've paused and observed, choose a response that aligns with your values. Speak calmly, ask questions instead of assuming, or if necessary, walk away and revisit the conversation later. A real-life example. Imagine this. You're at a family gathering, and your father makes a critical remark about your career. You immediately feel a surge of frustration. Your instinct? To snap back, to defend yourself, to prove him wrong, to make him see things your way. But you remember Seneca's words, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. So instead of reacting, you pause, you take a breath. You recognize that your first impulse is not necessarily the best response. You choose to ask calmly, I hear that you're concerned. Can you tell me more about why you feel that way? This simple shift changes the entire dynamic. Instead of escalating tension, you create an opportunity for understanding and discussion. The benefits of practicing emotional control in family relationships. When you learn to control your reactions, you avoid unnecessary arguments. Most conflicts are fueled by emotional escalation. When you remain calm, you diffuse tension before it grows. Improve family communication. Instead of reacting impulsively, you listen, reflect, and respond with wisdom. This leads to more meaningful conversations and less misunderstanding. Gain respect from your family. When people see that you remain composed even in difficult conversations, they begin to respect your emotional strength and wisdom. Feel more at peace. Instead of carrying regret over things said in the heat of the moment, you walk away from conversations knowing you acted with self-control and clarity. A simple exercise to strengthen this skill. For the next week, pay attention to how you react in family conversations. Whenever you feel triggered, practice the Stoic pause. 1. Breathe. Take a deep breath before responding. 2. Reframe. Ask yourself, is this worth getting upset over? 3. Respond with intention. Choose calm, patience, and wisdom over impulsiveness. By practicing this, you will naturally develop a greater sense of control over your emotions, leading to more harmonious and constructive family relationships. This is how you take back control, not just of your emotions, but of your interactions and relationships. Now, let's move on to the next Stoic principle. Why focusing on understanding, not winning, is the key to better family communication. Number 2, focus on understanding, not winning. Family conversations often feel like a battle. A disagreement begins, and suddenly the goal shifts, not to resolve the issue, but to prove who is right. We defend our opinions, we interrupt, we sharpen our arguments, determined to win the discussion. But what do we really win? A moment of superiority? A fleeting sense of satisfaction? Often, all we gain is resentment, frustration, and damaged relationships. This is where Stoicism for family relationships teaches us a better way. Instead of trying to win arguments, focus on understanding. Epictetus reminds us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. This is a simple but powerful idea. Listening, truly listening, is the key to better family communication. When we listen to understand, rather than to respond, conversations become calmer, more productive, and more meaningful. Why we feel the need to win in family conversations. Most of us are raised in environments where proving our point is seen as a form of strength. From childhood, we are taught to argue our case, to stand our ground, to never back down. In family discussions, this mindset often backfires. We assume we are right. Instead of seeking clarity, we dismiss other perspectives. We listen to reply, not to understand. We wait for our turn to speak, rather than absorbing what the other person is saying. We let ego take control. Instead of prioritizing connection, we prioritize being right. But what if we let go of the need to be right? What if, instead of debating, we sought to understand? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "If someone can prove me wrong, I will gladly change my mind, for it is truth that I seek, not ego." This means shifting the focus from who is right to what is true, from winning an argument to learning from the discussion. How to apply this in family conversations. Next time you find yourself in a disagreement with a family member, practice Stoic listening. 1. Pause before responding. Instead of immediately stating your opinion, take a breath. Allow space for reflection. 2. Ask clarifying questions. Instead of assuming, say, "Can you tell me more about why you feel that way?" 3. Repeat what you heard. Before sharing your perspective, summarize what they just said. This shows you are listening and helps prevent misunderstandings. 4. Let go of the need to win. If you realize their perspective has merit, acknowledge it. Growth is more important than ego. A real-life example. Imagine you're discussing a family decision, perhaps where to spend the holidays. One person wants to visit extended family, while another prefers a quiet gathering at home. Without a Stoic mindset, the conversation could quickly become a battle of preferences. "You never consider what I want. You're always so stubborn. Why do you have to make everything difficult?" But with Stoic communication, you shift the focus from personal victory to mutual understanding. "I see why that's important to you. Can we find a compromise that respects both perspectives?" This changes the dynamic. Instead of arguing, you are collaborating. Instead of trying to win, you are seeking a solution together. The benefits of practicing understanding over winning. When you prioritize understanding over being right, you gain deeper family connections. Conversations become more open, more respectful, and more productive. Less conflict and stress. Letting go of the need to win reduces unnecessary tension. More wisdom and growth. You learn from others instead of just defending your own views. A simple exercise to strengthen this skill. For the next week, practice Stoic listening in family conversations. Before speaking, pause. Instead of responding immediately, ask a question. After they finish speaking, summarize their point before stating yours. By practicing this, you will naturally shift from debating to understanding, from arguing to connecting. This is how you transform family communication, not by overpowering others with words, but by mastering the art of listening, patience, and wisdom. Now, let's explore the next Stoic principle. Why accepting that you cannot control others leads to greater harmony in family relationships. Number 3. Accept that you cannot control others, only yourself. One of the biggest sources of frustration in family relationships comes from trying to change people who do not want to change. We wish our parents would understand us better. We want our siblings to be more supportive. We expect family members to react the way we think they should. But the hard truth is this: you cannot control how others think, feel, or act. You can only control yourself. Epictetus puts it simply: some things are up to us and some things are not. This is the core of Stoicism for family relationships. No matter how much we argue, explain, or plead, we cannot force people to change. What we can do is control our own responses, our emotions, our words, and our mindset. Why trying to control others leads to frustration? Many family conflicts arise because we unknowingly try to control what is outside our power. We expect others to see things the way we do. We believe that if we explain enough, they will change. We feel frustrated when they don't act the way we hoped. But expecting others to change on our terms is like trying to change the weather. It's beyond our control. And when we fight against reality, we create our own suffering. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Instead of wasting energy trying to control others, redirect that energy inward. Focus on how you show up in family conversations. How to apply this in family interactions. Next time you feel frustrated by a family member's behavior, try this Stoic exercise. 1. Pause and reflect. Ask yourself, am I trying to control something that is outside my power? 2. Reframe your mindset. Instead of thinking, they need to change, shift to, how can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? 3. Detach from expectations. Accept that they may not change, and that's okay. Your peace doesn't depend on their behavior. A real-life example. Imagine you have a relative who constantly criticizes your life choices. You've tried explaining yourself, reasoning with them, even arguing. But no matter what you say, they don't change. Your instinct might be to keep fighting for their approval. But what if you let go of that need? Instead of trying to change them, you change your response. The next time they criticize, you take a breath, stay calm and say, I appreciate your concern, but I've made my decision. That's it. No argument, no emotional reaction, just calm self-control. When you stop expecting others to change, you gain freedom, the benefits of letting go of control. When you focus on controlling only yourself, you reduce stress and frustration. You stop wasting energy on what is beyond your control. Improve family communication. Conversations become lighter because you no longer try to fix others. Gain emotional peace. Your happiness is no longer tied to other people's behavior. A simple exercise to strengthen this skill. For the next week, every time you feel frustrated by a family member's words or actions, ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, let it go. Focus on what you can control, your mindset, your reactions, and your peace. This is how you create harmony, not by changing others, but by mastering yourself. Now, let's explore the next Stoic principle, how reframing negative thoughts about family members can improve communication and reduce conflict. Number 4. Reframe negative thoughts about family members. How often do you catch yourself thinking negatively about a family member? They never listen to me. They always criticize everything I do. They just don't care. These thoughts may seem justified in the moment, but are they true? Or are they simply assumptions shaped by emotions, past experiences, or misunderstandings? One of the greatest insights from Stoicism for family relationships is the ability to reframe our thoughts, to question our assumptions and see people as they truly are, rather than through the lens of frustration or resentment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In family relationships, this means that while we cannot control how others behave, we can control how we interpret their actions. How negative thinking damages family relationships. Negative thoughts create emotional distance between us and our loved ones. When we assume the worst, we stop listening. When we expect disappointment, we find it, whether it's there or not. When we label family members as difficult, we interact with them through defensiveness, not understanding. The result? Miscommunication, resentment, and unnecessary conflict. But what if we reframed our thoughts? What if, instead of assuming a family member is intentionally frustrating us, we considered that they might be struggling with something of their own? What if, instead of reacting with frustration, we approached them with curiosity and patience? The Stoic approach: reframing negative thoughts. The next time you find yourself thinking negatively about a family member, pause and ask, is this thought based on fact or assumption? Could there be another explanation for their behavior? How would I see this situation if I wasn't emotionally involved? Seneca gives us an important reminder. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Many of our frustrations aren't based on reality, but on the stories we tell ourselves. For example, if your sibling doesn't return your call, you might assume they don't care. But what if they were simply busy or overwhelmed? If a parent makes a critical remark, you might think they never support me. But what if their words come from concern, not rejection? If a relative is short-tempered, you might feel they're always rude to me. But what if they're dealing with stress you don't see? A real-life example. Imagine you walk into a family gathering and your uncle makes a sarcastic comment about your career. Your instinctive thought might be, he never respects me. He always puts me down. This thought fuels anger and defensiveness. You either argue or withdraw, reinforcing tension between you. Now let's apply the Stoic mindset for harmony. Pause. Before reacting, recognize that your frustration comes from how you're interpreting the comment, not the comment itself. Reframe. Instead of assuming disrespect, ask, is he trying to hurt me? Or is this just his way of joking? Respond with wisdom. Instead of snapping back, you might say, I know you have strong opinions. Tell me more about why you think that. This shift changes everything. Instead of escalating conflict, you invite understanding and discussion. The benefits of reframing negative thoughts. By practicing this Stoic principle, you will reduce unnecessary tension. Instead of jumping to conclusions, you allow space for more rational and compassionate interpretations. Improve family communication. When you see people more clearly, conversations become more open and constructive. Find peace within yourself. By controlling your perspective, you prevent frustration from clouding your emotions. A simple exercise to strengthen this habit. For the next week, every time a negative thought about a family member arises, ask yourself, what if I'm wrong about this? How would a wise observer interpret this situation? What response would create more peace instead of more conflict? By practicing this, you train yourself to see family relationships not through the lens of past frustrations, but through the clarity of Stoic wisdom. Now, let's move to the next Stoic principle. Why setting boundaries without guilt is essential for healthier family dynamics. Number 5. Set boundaries without guilt. In family relationships, the line between love and obligation is often blurred. You care deeply about your family, and because of that, you might feel responsible for fixing their problems, meeting their expectations, or always being available. But when does this caring turn into self-sacrifice at the expense of your own well-being? Many people struggle with guilt when setting boundaries. They fear disappointing their parents, being labeled as selfish, or creating distance in their relationships. However, Stoicism for family relationships teaches us that setting boundaries is not about rejection, it's about self-respect. Epictetus reminds us, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. If you let things outside your control dictate your emotions, you are enslaved by them. Setting boundaries is not just about saying no. It's about reclaiming control over your own emotions, energy, and peace of mind. Why boundaries are essential for healthy family relationships. Without boundaries, relationships become imbalanced and emotionally exhausting. You might feel obligated to attend every family event, even at the cost of your own needs. You might allow hurtful behavior to continue simply because that's just how they are. You might feel drained by family drama, but keep engaging because you feel guilty stepping back. Over time, this resentment builds, damaging both your well-being and the relationship itself. But here's what Stoicism teaches us. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you're constantly sacrificing your own peace for the sake of others, you're not truly helping, you're just burning yourself out. Marcus Aurelius offers a powerful perspective. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This means that you are not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. You are only responsible for setting them with clarity and kindness. How to set boundaries the Stoic way. The next time you need to set a boundary with a family member, remember these Stoic principles. 1. Be clear and direct. Instead of avoiding the conversation, state your boundary calmly and firmly. For example, I won't be able to attend this gathering, but I'd love to see you another time. 2. Detach from their reaction. If they get upset, remind yourself their emotions are not my responsibility. 3. Stay consistent. If you set a boundary but later ignore it out of guilt, you send mixed signals. Stand by your decision. 4. Don't over-explain. Boundaries are not requests for approval, they are statements of your needs. A real-life example. Imagine your parents expect you to visit every weekend, even though you're overwhelmed with work and personal commitments. Your instinct might be to force yourself to go, even when you're exhausted, just to avoid disappointing them. But doing this every week leads to resentment. Instead, apply Stoic boundary setting. Recognize your limits. Accept that you need time for yourself. Communicate clearly. Instead of making excuses, say, I can't come every weekend, but I'd love to set a regular time that works for both of us. Detach from their emotions. If they feel disappointed, that's okay. Their feelings do not define your worth. The benefits of setting boundaries. When you set boundaries without guilt, you reduce stress and resentment. No more saying yes when you really mean no. Improve family communication. Clear expectations lead to more honest and respectful conversations. Strengthen relationships. Healthy boundaries allow for genuine connection, free from resentment or obligation. A simple exercise to strengthen this skill. For the next week, practice setting one small boundary, whether it's saying no to an invitation, limiting time spent on draining conversations, or politely but firmly stopping a family member from crossing a personal line. Remind yourself, boundaries are an act of self-respect, not selfishness. By doing this, you create a healthier, more sustainable family dynamic, one built on mutual respect rather than silent resentment. Now, let's move on to the final Stoic principle, practicing Amor Fati, or embracing your family as they are, rather than as you wish them to be. Number 6. Practice Amor Fati, embrace family as they are. Family relationships can be challenging because we often wish our loved ones were different. We want them to be more understanding, more supportive, more emotionally available. We may wish a parent were less critical, a sibling more communicative, or a relative more open-minded. But the reality is, we do not get to choose who our family members are. We only get to choose how we respond to them. This is where the Stoic principle of Amor Fati, love of fate, becomes essential. Instead of resisting reality or wishing things were different, we embrace things as they are, including the people in our lives. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. In other words, peace in family relationships doesn't come from changing others, but from accepting them as they are, flaws and all. Why we struggle to accept family as they are. Much of our frustration in family relationships comes from expectations. We expect others to react the way we would. We expect them to change when we explain our point of view. We expect them to meet our emotional needs perfectly. But when those expectations are not met, we feel disappointed, frustrated, even resentful. The truth is, expecting people to change is one of the biggest causes of suffering. No matter how much we try, we cannot force someone to act differently. What we can do is change how we interpret their actions. Seneca offers us this wisdom. A wise person doesn't complain about the way the world is. They simply adjust their expectations to reality. If we stop expecting family members to be different than they are, we free ourselves from unnecessary frustration. How to apply Amor Fati in family relationships. Instead of resisting who your family members are, try these Stoic reframing techniques. See their flaws with compassion. Instead of thinking, they always criticize me, remind yourself, this is the way they express concern, even if it's imperfect. 2. Recognize their limitations. Some people lack emotional awareness or communication skills. It's not personal, it's just who they are. 3. Adjust your expectations. Instead of expecting a family member to act differently, meet them where they are and focus on how you can navigate the relationship wisely. A real-life example. Imagine your father has always been emotionally distant. No matter how hard you try, he never fully expresses his feelings. If you expect him to suddenly change, you'll be disappointed. But if you apply Amor Fati, you shift your mindset. Instead of wishing he was more expressive, you accept that he shows love in other ways, perhaps through actions rather than words. Instead of resenting his emotional distance, you adjust your expectations and appreciate the relationship for what it is. This shift brings freedom. Instead of feeling frustrated by what is missing, you find gratitude for what is present. The benefits of embracing family as they are. When you accept your family without trying to change them, you eliminate unnecessary frustration. You stop fighting battles that cannot be won. Improve communication. Conversations become more peaceful when you approach them without expectations. Feel more at ease. Letting go of the need to change others brings deep emotional relief. A simple exercise to strengthen this mindset. For the next week, whenever you feel frustrated by a family member, ask yourself, am I upset because they are acting unfairly or because I expected them to act differently? How would this situation feel if I completely accepted them as they are? What can I appreciate about them instead of focusing on what I wish were different? By practicing this, you cultivate Amor Fati, the ability to love and accept family relationships for what they are, instead of what you wish they would be. This is the path to true inner peace and harmony within your family. Now, as we conclude, let's reflect on how these Stoic principles together can reshape the way we communicate with family and deepen our relationships. Family relationships are one of the most significant parts of our lives. They can bring love, support, and joy. But they can also be a source of frustration, misunderstanding, and tension. By applying Stoic principles, we can transform the way we communicate, reduce conflict, and build stronger, more harmonious connections with those we love. Today, we explored 6 powerful Stoic strategies to improve family communication. Control your reactions before they control you. By pausing before responding, we avoid unnecessary conflict and cultivate emotional resilience. Focus on understanding, not winning. When we listen with the goal of understanding, rather than proving a point, we create deeper, more meaningful conversations. Accept that you cannot control others, only yourself. Letting go of the need to change others frees us from frustration and allows us to focus on our own growth. Reframe negative thoughts about family members. By challenging our assumptions, we foster empathy and reduce resentment. Set boundaries without guilt. Boundaries are an act of self-respect, not rejection, and they allow for healthier interactions. Practice Amor Fati. Embrace family as they are. True peace comes from accepting people as they are, rather than wishing they were different. The core message of Stoicism for family relationships is simple. We cannot control what others say or do, but we can control how we respond, how we interpret, and how we choose to engage. As you move forward, try incorporating these principles into your everyday interactions. When a conversation starts to escalate, pause and ask yourself, am I reacting emotionally or responding wisely? Am I trying to win or trying to understand? Am I focusing on what I can control? By making these small shifts in perspective, you will not only improve communication with your family, but also gain a deeper sense of inner peace and emotional balance. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. Instead of waiting for others to change, be the person who practices patience, wisdom, and understanding. Lead by example, and over time, your family relationships will naturally improve. If you found value in this video, help spread Stoic wisdom by liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. What's one Stoic lesson you're going to apply in your family relationships today? Let's continue this conversation and support each other on the path to greater understanding and harmony. Thank you for watching Stoic Teachings today. Stay strong, stay wise, and remember, your peace is always within your control.